2021 proves to be a decisive year for the United States, marking the end of 4 years of the dramatic presidency of Donald Trump and the beginning of Biden's new presidency. To get a view on the recent political history of the US and what it could hold for the future, I spoke to Matt B and began by asking him about his hometown and his start on YouTube.
I mean, it's right in the middle, and it kind of is a crossroads. Like, a lot of people travel through, but we're also mostly an agricultural state, and so a lot of we're known as the wheat state that produces a pretty big percentage of wheat out of the country, corn and soybeans. It's pretty wide open, though. There's not many people, like compared to the East Coast or West Coast, there's not many people that live here, so we like our space. Got my teaching license, and when I was in the classroom, it was, I wanted to show videos that could bring some of the content to life, and I just found that there wasn't much out there, and this was back in 2009, way back, and so I just started making my own, and my first videos were only for my students, but then over the years I started to have an audience outside of that, and so I was like, so I started to kind of gear it more towards a wider audience.
The election 2000 was, I think, the sort of first election that you were properly immersed in. From your point of view, how much in terms of the political landscape and the way sort of Americans perceive politics has changed since then?
Yeah, I mean, my first election I voted in was 2000. I voted for a third party. I usually support third parties, but 2000, sure, the country was really passionately divided with the two biggest political parties, but there was also you could leave that at the door when you met up with your family at Thanksgiving. You could still you didn't have to bring it up. You could just forget about politics. Where now it seems like everybody has to bring it up. It's unavoidable.
As well was immersed in the sort of Yes We Can sort of campaign, and a real belief in America that politics was going to change with the Obama administration. Am I right in saying how much of that feeling there was with yourself and a lot of the Americans at that time?
Something about 2008, there's a lot of great candidates. It wasn't just Barack Obama, but it was also I was a big fan of Ron Paul and Mike Gravel, these exciting candidates who kind of had outside the box thinking. And even somebody like John McCain, it's just your two choices, McCain and Obama, were decent people, I mean, even Sarah Palin, who gets made fun of a lot, it's she was inspired. She's still a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of the politicians today. So yeah, it was a good crop. Now, when Obama got in there, obviously, a lot of dreams were crushed.
Do you have any idea how America from 8 years ago, in 2008, went from the full yes we can create change and we can tell the people wrong, whereas 8 years later it's Trump saying and not be a sort of global responsible democracy and look inwards.
The rise of Trump is kind of shows the failures of the Obama administration, because what a lot of people don't talk about is there were, I would say, millions, at least hundreds of thousands of people that voted for Obama in 2012 or 2008 and then voted for Trump in 2016. So I think a lot of times what happens is just people are not that informed about politics, and so they're just essentially they're struggling still, and the status quo is not helping, and so let's just try this, and then now we're seeing maybe let's go back to that, maybe that wasn't so bad. And so I think that's why it's so unpredictable. A lot of it is just candidates being at the right place at the right time, I think Trump was, and he said just enough of the right, because if you go back and look at the 2016 campaign, it wasn't all negative. He said some stuff that really resonated with blue collar workers, and that was especially on free trade and jobs being outsourced to other countries. That's kind of what's been happening, and I think UK as well. It's you see that resonate with a lot of people.
Feel that the sort of wounds from the Great Recession, do you think they were never healed?
Yeah, because of the concentration of wealth has just continued to be directed at the rich are getting richer and the poor are not. there's some improvement, like little bits, but it's not enough. And so that's why you see unrest, you know. And what's fascinating is a lot of the unrest is you see a lot of the people out in the streets protesting have a lot more in common than I think that they have not. It's just that they happen to join different teams, you know. Like, I think it's just social media mostly to blame for that. I mean, because they have legitimate concerns, but then they are so, and it's mostly people that seem to be followers of the president, but others as well. Like, they're stuck in their echo chambers, and because algorithms feed us what we want to see, and if you only see what you want to see all the time, then you're going to be further and further radicalized, because you're living literally on, like, everybody's living in an alternate reality. There's like billions of different realities based on what we see on our feeds.
Do you think the Americans still have that belief that there can still be that momentum and belief of change even in these circumstances?
I do feel like it's more cynical than it was back then. Like, because I work with young folks, my students are Generation Z. It seems like they're a little bit more cynical, but at the same time, they're more informed, and so they can kind of see through the BS. Like, they, and so I think that's kind of the inspiring part of it, because you know that, like, I think things are going to get a lot better now that we've survived 4 years of kind of chaos. I do think, I mean, now we're kind of going back to a boring president. I think Biden will just be, which is kind of a change of pace that most Americans are welcoming right now, because it's almost like as an experiment, you know. It's like this is kind of, you know, see what happens, you know, burn it all down. And in a way, we've needed to go through all this stuff, because, you know, struggle is good. It makes you better as a country. Every country has to go through this, you know. So
yeah.